Hey guys, how are ya? Trying to find a quote last minute and I can't find it. Don't try to find stuff last minute. Okay. Whatever. It'll be fine without it. Okay. Hey guys. So thanks for hanging out with us tonight. I am really excited to have Shelly on tonight too. She is going to share some things that I hope will inspire you because what she's doing is working. So tonight we're just going to really aim to encourage you and help give you some new fire to reignite your business. Or even if it's going well, maybe this will help you just add in some additional shifts that will add to your success. And if you're just starting out, hopefully it will give you some ideas of what to do, maybe what not to do. So I really just felt led to show up and talk about this with you because I know that some people are really feeling the strain, numbers being down, businesses being down, OGV being down. And that's true for quite a few, I would say a significant percentage of people in Young Living. It's been talked about in the Diamond Chat group. And so I wanted to just make sure that first of all, if that's the situation you're in, you know that you're not alone, that, you know, I'm not going to show up tonight and be like, hey, you're doing it all wrong. And that's why your numbers are going down, because there are definitely some factors outside of our control. So I wanted to just really encourage you and help you kind of maybe brainstorm and think about some other things that might work better for right now, just because of where we're at. Maybe a lot of what's going on kind of just reveals some shifts that we need to take right now. And so basically in my, you know, analyzing the situation and stuff, to me, and just kind of talking to people, what's working, what's not working, it really just looks like what we've been doing isn't necessarily what's going to be working so much right now. What worked so much in the past or even a couple of years ago just might not be what's working right now. And so I just wanted to share some ideas and inspiration for you guys to shift that. And, you know, with some of the things that's been happening is what we're really actually just seeing, the delayed effect of some of what's been like a deflated energy. And, you know, that's not like to say that it's anybody's fault or anything again, because I think that the last 2 years have been really difficult to kind of sustain some energy and enthusiasm. And so it's just kind of like seeing the ripple effect of that finally hitting and kind of seeing, hey, okay, so, you know, the low energy, maybe the low enthusiasm that's been going around. You know, people were like, well, I can't really gather. And then they could, but it's like, now do I feel like it? Pipelines basically ran dry for some people. So we had been doing all of these things to create this funnel of people who were interested in wanting to learn. And then they kind of just sat there for so long that it kind of just dried up for some people. And of course, there's totally other factors too. And we can speculate on those and we can know exactly what some of them are. And they're very legit reasons. But I want to look at what we can do. So tonight, I want to just talk about shifting, a couple of shifting points. And just keep in mind that our life moves in the direction of our thoughts. And so if we are saying like, well, the economy is this, or well, this is going on, or this isn't working, or like, I need to have a backup plan because of this, it's really going to take away from what we can do in this. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is just really shifting your energy and your beliefs. Who will you be in light of, you know, what's going on right now? And will you stay committed? Will you shift your thoughts to stay committed? And then have your energy shifted around it so that the energy that you put out there really has enthusiasm behind it, and that people can feel that enthusiasm, and that you can start regenerating some enthusiasm in your network and your community. So, you know, the economy's down, you know, all of these things, but guess what? If you've had like major life-changing hormone stuff happen because of progestins, you're probably going to be like, it doesn't matter what the economy is. I need progestins, right? So there's so many things that don't have to shift with this, but we just have to figure out how to shift with that so we can make sure to share that. And that's why, one reason why I wanted to bring Shelly on tonight, because she has majorly shifted. And I'm gonna let her share like how long she was doing this business first, before things have really shifted for her, and what she did to shift it. And I chose her because she's a great representation of this shift, of never stopping, of just keep going until you find what works, and even when it doesn't seem like it's working. And also because our girl was recognized by Young Living as one of the people who are really rocking their business this year. She's been a very high enroller. And so I thought that, you know what? Yes, the numbers are down for some people and stuff like that right now, but some people, they are just out there blasting it and just really killing it. And so I'm just so excited and so honored that Shelly would come on and share with you guys. So she's going to chat with you guys. And then, you know, if you have any questions, you can pop them in the chat group or just unmute and we'll go from there. So Shelly.
Thank you, Sarah. Y'all saw me like tearing up there. The way you speak so highly of me, that's humbling, and I'm so honored. Thank you. And thanks to each of you that are taking time out of your night to be here. I know we all have families and schedules, and I do recognize that. And so I will honor that and keep that in mind as I'm sharing. I definitely started pursuing the Young Living business summer-ish of 2020. You know, did all the things that we're taught to do and the classes, and I did some vendor events, and nothing was really working. And starting in fall of 2021, I you know, things just pop up on your Instagram, right? And some like social marketing, social selling stuff was popping up on my Instagram. And the first account that I followed, and if y'all are note takers, write down her or look her up on Instagram right now. Her account is Pink Sparrow Social. So I started following her, and she was like making all these really fun reels. You know what a reel is. If you don't, go check it out. They're incredible. And I was really inspired by her creativity. I'm an artist by nature, and so just inspired by her creativity. And then she did a collaboration with Brock Johnson. Maybe some of you are familiar with her or with her mom, his mom, Charlene Johnson. They kind of do a duo in their marketing world. Write down his name or look him up. He is Brock 11 Johnson on Instagram. So I started following him. And then I was so inspired, and so like back in summer of last year, I guess 2020, when I started trying to make some reels and trying to pick like a category that would work for me. And by category, I mean niche, or some people call it niche. And I was like, well, what in the world? What am I good at? What am I passionate about? I'm an art teacher by trade. I don't have any kind of like medical, training or anything. And so I thought about what is the one product that made me fall in love with Young Living. Right. So everyone's thinking of their product right now. Got your product? Okay. I got to tell you my story, right? So that you understand why it works for me. I was 13 months postpartum with my first baby, and came home from school one day, just raging mad, and called my girlfriend who had told me about Progestins Plus several times. And this was before I was in the oily world. And I was like, no, I don't want that. It's like in the oily world. I'm like, not my thing. Right. That's funny. I guess here I am. She basically, for lack of a better word, pushed it on me. And I know now why she did. So I'd heard how it could work, and like, I've heard the stories. So I started it on a Tuesday, and I didn't tell my husband, not out of like manipulation or deceit, but I wanted to see, like, did it really work? Not kidding you. By Thursday, he was like, what's wrong with you? You're happy. You're in a good mood. Like, you're back to the Shelly that was before we had a baby. My progesterone was obviously low. And he said, please, 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 whatever it takes, never run out of that product. Kind of like you were saying, Sarah, right? Like, even in a recession, we're going to buy what we need and what we need to feel good and to survive. So as I was thinking about what my niche could be, I was like, all right, hormones, here we go. And I mean, I knew a little bit about hormones and kind of self-taught. Yes, I'm not looking at the chat box, but if you'll have questions, please do unmute. I would rather be interrupted and talk about your question in the middle of the conversation than to get to the end and I miss it. So I'm not offended if you stop and interrupt me. So I was like, all right, I think I picked the first niche I picked was like mom life. And I was like, I'm a mom, I can do this, well, no, that didn't work out. So I picked the hormone thing and I just started making reels and creating content and basically just mimicking what Brock Johnson did and used Pink Sparrow Social to kind of do some of her reels. And Brock kept talking about the Insta Club Hub. Okay. If you're a note taker, write that down, the Insta Club Hub. He's like, we're offering you this deal. You can come to a 3-day training for like $7. I'm like, okay, I'm in. Oh my goodness, learned so much in that 3-day training and his goal was to sell me on his subscription to his Insta Club Hub. Well, guess what? It worked. And guess what? Insta Club Hub worked. So I started making reels in September of 2021 fairly consistently. I'd get so discouraged because like I wouldn't get any traction and nothing was working. And, October and November came around and December, I was making reels and my daughter's taking horse lessons and just out of the blue in the car, I was holding my son in the front seat. We were parked and I was flipping through reels. I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this one. Like, it's an easy one. I can do it now in the car. He was in half of it, out of half of it. I made it in December, middle of December before Christmas. And by January, middle of January, my Instagram inbox was flooded. There was one morning I woke up to 72 messages from these women that were like, I need what you have. Like, what did you do? I just sold the problem. Write it down. If you're taking notes, right? To sell the problem. Don't sell the product. Don't put the product. Progestins Plus, it helps your progesterone. No, don't do that. That doesn't work. People don't buy the product. We fast forward through commercials, right? No, that doesn't work. Sell yourself and sell the problem. I was selling the problem. These women, and they still are coming to me. What do you need? What do you use? What works? Tell me. I want to know. And so I don't go out. I don't have makes our job so easy. I don't have to go out and find people. I don't, go knocking down doors and begging at vendor events. Vendor events aren't my thing. If they're your thing, great. Props to you because I can't make them work, but I can make social media work. Gotta pick what works for you. So anyways, got through this big hump in January. I ended up enrolling 21 people. 18 of which actually placed an order. Now with like the new system where you don't have to pick a starter kit, you can enroll without placing an order. So in January I had 21 and in February I had 22 with 17 that actually ordered. And last month I had 14 with 10 that actually placed an order. Here's an analogy I saw one time when I was trying to pick my niche. I'm going to share this with you guys because, you've probably heard it said, oh, everyone sells Young Living or everyone's trying to like sell non-toxic or, everyone is selling clean shampoo or whatever the case may be. So the analogy I saw one time was, that's my pie. I'm an art teacher. Look, that's my pie. That's a good pie, huh? They said, if the pie is women's health, don't try and sell or niche down to women's health. That's not a niche. That's a piece of pie. But when you, and everyone fights over the pie, right? Everyone fights over women's health or fitness or mom life or non-toxic products or whatever. That's not going to sell for you. That's not going to work. Pick a niche. And so when you pick a niche, that's a sliver of the pie, hormone health, guess what? Nobody's fighting for that little bitty piece of pie. Nobody wants a little bitty piece of pie. So you pick your little bitty piece of pie and you niche down. And that's what Brock Johnson talks about all the time. Niche down, niche down, niche down. And at first it felt very foolish. I'm like, no one cares about this stuff. No one really wants to feel better no one knows their hormones are bad. No one wants it. But sure enough, in my Instagram, not that I'm looking to grow my account, but that's how women are finding me. In January, I think it grew from under 500, and now I'm at just over 4,000. So it's when you reels, and it's free. Instagram doesn't cost you anything. It costs you time and it costs you attention, but it doesn't cost you $1 out of your pocket. So if you can make time to binge on Netflix, right? Guilty. If you can make time to scroll Instagram for 30 minutes, you got time to make a reel, or you got time to niche down and do some research to see what can your focus be? What can you niche down about, and not only find new followers and new people that are interested in what you're interested in, but sell it to them. And so then they message me in my inbox, then we get to talking and they share all their problems and I sympathize and I'm like, oh, me too. And because truly it was me too. And then eventually I'm like, have you heard of Young Living? That's what I use. And usually by that time, they're so desperate for an answer. They're like, yes, send me whatever resources you have. And so I send it to them and they create an account. I'm glancing over here at my notes because you're probably going to ask, my Instagram handle is happiest Shelly, all one word, no spaces, happiest Shelly. Like just copy me. It works, you know, but make your own niche. And
hey, Shelly, I have a question.
Yes. Let's see who is speaking.
It's Briana Clement.
Hi, Briana.
Hi. So actually you already answered one of them because I've kind of been following you for a while, seeing what you're doing. And I was wondering if you had a background, like a medical background, because I don't. And so I love that you don't. That's encouraging. And then also when you send people resources, or, you know, when you're first sending them something, are you just sending the link right away? Like, here, order this, or are you sending them, like, what are you sending them? What
resources that's a great question.
Before the link, or
I'm glad that you asked that, because that was a mistake that I made back in the fall when I was making all these reels and like, I'm going to grow. I had no growth plan. And so all these women messaged me in January and I had nothing planned. And basically they all need the same products, right? So I started out with like an email that I would copy and paste. I would ask for their email address because then I have a way to contact them outside of social media. And then eventually I subscribed to Get Oiling, and inside of Get Oiling, you could do the campaigns. And so now I have different campaigns for different situations and I email it to them. And I make the disclaimer when I first talk to them that I'm not a medical professional. I don't claim to be, I don't want to be. And my Instagram profile says, my tagline or whatever is, I help women in their 20s, 30s, and 40s find hormone healing without prescription, you know, and not too many women have been bothered by that. In fact, so many women, as you all probably know, have been burned by the medical community and by birth control, and just really are looking for something different. So, yeah.
I want to say too, that one of the things that stood out to me and that convicts me daily from what Shelly has taught me is, if you look at her Instagram, the one thing that you will see is commitment, consistency. Like, it's just, and I know that sometimes for me, I'm an overthinker. I know other people are too. And even just like in talking to Shelly, and then I'm like, okay, I'm going to throw some things out there and get the hang of this. The things that I did super randomly were the ones that did better than the ones that were super planned out. So for the overthinkers, it's like, and that was kind of the one that you did that really went viral, right, Shelly?
Right. I'm glad you brought that up. Yeah. The one that I was doing in the car at Horse Lessons, it now has over, I can't even like say it. It's just surreal. Over 7 million views between Instagram and Facebook. It really hit harder on Facebook than it did on here. And when I put them on my Facebook, I direct them back to my Instagram. That's the community I'm trying to build for these women is on Instagram. But yeah, really selling the problem and not the product, and consistency. And that's what Brock preaches too. He preaches quantity over quality. He said, people don't care about your vanity. And him and his mom have done all this research. They have all these statistics that prove people don't care about your vanity. They care about the quality of your content. Okay. What is it? Entertain them, educate them, entertainment, education. Oh, there was another one, a third thing. Do y'all follow him? Do you know what I'm talking about? I can't remember the third one that he preaches: quantity over quality, because the more content you create, the better you're going to get and the easier it's going to get. And so I got so discouraged. I would like do 3 or 4 weeks and then like just take a week off. And then middle of December, I didn't do anything. My kids are home from school and just like, we didn't do anything. And then in January, all of a sudden, just blew up. It was good. It can be done. I never thought that it could be, but it can be. And here we are.
I have to admit, I was so skeptical of it too. I was like, I don't know, does that work? And I was watching and I was so curious. And realize that like when somebody goes to your Instagram now, they're like you're going to be, you're known, you already are, and you're going to continue to be known as that one Shelly that knows all the hormone stuff, like that's got the like hormone Shelly, you know, like, and so I feel like that was so much the value because you made yourself the go-to person with that. Yeah. So like, hey, well, I know this. Oh, like they're going to have conversations and they're going to be like, oh, well, have you checked out this one person? She talks about hormone health all the time, you know? And so I think that's the power too of the niche that you were talking about. You know, it's like, that gives you that advantage in that way too.
Yeah. Briana, back to what you were asking about, what do I send them? Sarah, I'm sure this is fine with you, but I just go to Oily Friends. I copy and paste, you know, the stuff that the content and the products. And that's kind of what I've made my campaigns, is I just send that to them as, hey, and it truly has worked for me. But for those that want more like the science behind it, I use some of the stuff and I tell them, I'm like, when you join our group, I can add you to this group. And that's how it is. Oily Friends and Living Life by the Drop. Like that's absolutely how I've learned everything I know. I mean, besides healing my own hormones. And yeah, that's what women, what's relatable, right? It's not relatable. That was the other thing. Be relatable, entertain them, and educate them. So when you're relatable, they're going to go, oh, she gets it because she's been there and she's done it. And she knows how I feel. Yeah. Okay. I'm sure there's so much more I can say. I do want to honor y'all's time. And if Sarah has any closing messages, oh, hey, UPS, that's a late delivery.
I actually thought of another question.
Yeah.
I thought of another question, if that's okay.
Yeah.
So you said that you started out with a different niche, and I did too. And it didn't really, I picked something that I relate to. I did like introverted reels for like 2 months straight and had a lot of fun with it, but it needs to be in the natural, like living realm. So I'm curious, did you go back then and delete your content that you did before? Like I have all these, you know, introverted reels and just random reels before that. Yeah. I don't know if I should like clean up that page more before picking the next thing, or do you just let it be there? Because then as you create more, it'll just be further down.
Right. Yeah. And what Brock says and what I've done is never delete a reel unless like the audio goes bad or there's some glitch or something. I mean, if you know, what you don't want to happen is you have this introvert niche and someone comes to your page for that. And then they're like, oh, this is not like what she's actually doing, you know, but I left mine there. I did clean it up and take out all of my like personal family type stuff. Oh, that's another thing I learned that was a very difficult transition, is transitioning from my social media being about myself to serving others. And when I was able to shift that mindset, because so many of us guilty did it. Like, but my stories, so he says that your stories can be about your daily life, anything about you, but as far as like your feed and your page, they need to be about your niche. And so having that mindset shift of, I'm serving people. How can I serve? How can I give, educate, give them so much information without showing them or selling them my product? Sell the problem, right? How much of the problem can I sell without talking about myself or promoting myself, right? Like we want to promote the problem and not promote, oh, my daughter got first place in Pee Wee barrel racing, which she did. Like I'm not going to promote that on my page because that's not what the problem that I'm trying to sell is. So that was a huge mindset shift for me too. But yeah, Brock just says to leave your old niche there. And he said, it's okay. Like try one thing. And if it doesn't work, try another. Lizzie, what is her name? Sarah, is she a diamond or platinum? Lizzie with a P, Paleos?
Paleos. Yeah,
yes, her. Paleos. She spoke at Diamond Bound and she also grew on social media. And she said that what she did was she picked 5 niches that were all kind of related to, I guess, to Young Living, or maybe not. Some of them that were. And so she would post about each niche, 5 niches, post about it, you know, one day a week, 5 days a week. And then she would go back and evaluate which ones were doing the best and kind of narrow in that way. So if I'd known that before, I probably would have done that too. That's a great way to kind of get your feet wet and figure out what niche might work.
That's good. I like that you also talked about doing about moving things to email, or at least having that option too. I was trying to find my notes from Brendan Burchard's influencer conference in 2019. He said that the number one thing you can do to build your business is to build an email subscription list, because that's something that has stood the test of time, and no matter what happens. And so one of the things, like I wanted to have Shelly share, because it's such a good example of like the power of shifting. And for me, I've had to shift away from social media just because I know my audience, and I know that my audience is the kind of people who are getting off of social media. They're more likely to, they're not more likely, they're really much more likely to move away from social media to have family time. They're homeschooling, they're doing all these things or whatever that are similar to what I'm doing. And so, I've had to really go and add, thankfully I had an email subscription list built up and things like that. But I know that for some people, shifting to that has been helping them, just because it's a really important backup. If you have a big following, or if you have, just even a small following, and, sometimes what I'm finding is that when I email someone, or I email a newsletter out to a bunch of people, people will be more likely to respond and reply and have a conversation, because it's just so much easier. And it's so much more personal than like just commenting on something on social media. And so he said, Brendan Burchard was saying the number one thing you can do, and he went into a whole training on this, how to really make the most out of an email. But we have a lot of resources for that. Like Shelly was saying, using stuff from our group, there's so much content out there. I just designed a whole new system that I'm going to be sharing with you guys soon. I'm waiting for my virtual assistant to make it look really pretty and get it all set up. But I just pulled content from our groups for it. I mean, I was already content that we already had in our groups. And so the content is already there. You don't have to reinvent the wheel. But also a benefit to that is, like Shelly was talking about, is having that system, so that once you've figured out what your niche is, and you're selling the problem and stuff, that you have that system in place where you can just start making sure that you're getting the information out there and following up well with people. So that was one of the shifts that I kind of wanted to just throw out there tonight too. And then I'm really glad that Shelly talked about that, like selling the problem and yourself and not the product. Because I think that is probably one of the biggest shifts we need to make nowadays. If the economy is not doing great, or people are concerned about where the economy is going, they're more likely to back out or lower their orders or things like that, if it's just about a product. But if it's about a solution, something that's solving a problem for them, then that's a totally different story. So I thought I would just throw out there another shift to make right now, is just really looking at your whatever you're doing to share, whether it's classes, vendor events, social media, emails, project broadcast, texts, or whatever. Are you utilizing this opportunity to solve problems for people, help people see that there's an answer to their problems? I think somewhere in one of our groups, I'll go back and find it, we have a list of like the top products somebody went through, not top products, top problems that people have, like sleep, hormones. There's these different things. And if you, one of the things that one of the speakers at this influencer conference that I was at said that your audience is always speaking to you and telling you what they need. You just have to learn to listen. And so when you take that and you pair that listening with, really narrowing in on a niche, like Shelly was saying, then you can really focus in. And at first I was like, wow, that is a really narrow niche when I was watching Shelly do these things. And, sometimes it was like, if I do that, is it going to be redundant? And, I kind of looked at it and was like, actually, it kind of might be. And that's kind of the whole point. Because how many times do we need to know that, like, do we need to be like, yes, I know this is a problem. I should stop ignoring it with my health. I should really attack it or something. I should really address it. So I think there's a lot of benefit to that. So, maybe really just going after it and doing some of the things that Shelly has talked about, and going after social media and giving that a shot, and really just going, holding it out for a while like Shelly did, to watch it work. And at the same time, you know, maybe it's shifting, you know, like I've shifted too. And I've had more enrollments in the last couple of months than I had for a long time, just because I had decided to shift and start doing things a little bit differently than what I've already done in the past. And what I've done in the past was working, but it wasn't, it worked a lot. It worked really, really well. I think my total enrollments in my time with Young Living has been like, you know, 300 people, which isn't a lot, but it worked really well for me at first. And then it didn't. So just saying, like, when something's not working, when numbers are going down, I think the main word in my head is just shift. Like, what can I shift to see what else might work? If you go to a vendor event, it doesn't work for you, shift and see what does work. If you do classes, maybe it doesn't seem like it's working. Maybe it isn't working. Shift. Do you need to do the classes differently? Do you need to try something else differently? It's always just this continuous shifting, and it never will stop. So it's like, I know for the people who want to be like, I'm going to figure out what works and I'm just going to sit there and do that and be happy in there. And that's unfortunately not how this works at all. Everything is always shifting. The economy is shifting. People's needs are shifting. Technology is shifting. So all of these things just call for us to shift. But I wanted to also just make sure that we are shifting when it comes to our commitment. You know, if we look at it as not optional, we're going to bring some energy to this, that this is essential, that this lifestyle, that what we're doing here is essential. And that energy is going to get us growing. It's going to help change people's lives. It's going to get other people wanting to change people's lives. There's just this momentum that happens when we shift our energy from like, is this going to work? I'll try it and see if it doesn't, it doesn't. And then I'm done. Or it was working at one time and it's not working now. So that means I'm done. But if we can shift away from that and say, well, there's not an option to quit changing people's lives, to quit giving people solutions to what they truly do need, so that they don't have to keep going through this cycle of things not working. And so we're going to bring that energy to this, and then we're going to see a shift in that. And that's one of the things I think that we've lost. Some of the energy that we used to get in this that kept us going, I think people considered as optional. Conferences, convention, trainings, local events, we are feeding off of each other's energy, and that energy really does have an impact on it. And I think for the last 2 years, we've gotten away from that in thinking that it was optional. And now we're seeing the effects of that. Things are fizzling out. And a lot of that has to do with that lost energy that we have, that energy that we need to keep feeding off of, to really just feel the importance of this lifestyle. Because when we're together and we're seeing what it's doing to each other and in each other's lives, we're seeing that it's really essential. And if we're going to really get out there and care about people, we're going to keep going. We're not going to say like, if what I do doesn't work, then I'm going to quit, because there are still people who need this. And then the last thing was just really shifting from coasting, which I think is just kind of one of the reasons things have been going down lately. There's just been a lot of coasting, and you know, that happens sometimes too, when we don't have that energy from doing things in person together. And shifting to being intentional. So even just like, I would say small goals, they're not small because they're still really big. Like Shelly is like, I have to do a reel a day. She was over here and she was like, hey, 1 second. And she's like, gotta get a reel up. Like she is holding herself accountable to this commitment and being extremely intentional. And some of it she had already had set up. That was so intentional. And I think you even had a timer on your phone, didn't you, Shelly?
Yeah, because long story short, you can, when you set up a business profile on Instagram, you can look at your insights and it tells you what time your current followers are most active on Instagram. And mine are most active at 5:30 p.m. Well, I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. Like, that's bedtime, bath time, dinner time. So guess what? I forget to post a reel at that time. But you can go and create reels and save them as a draft. And so literally I have reels just in my drafts. And when that alarm goes off, I open Instagram, I push publish, and I'm done. So do all the work beforehand. And Brock talks a lot about that and the details of that. That's been a game changer for me. So I can set aside my time to make my reels and edit them and have them ready to go, so that when 5 o'clock rolls around, I'm not like, oh man, I got to make a reel. The alarm goes off, I post it, and I'm done.
Excellent. And I think that there's something to that too. Like if we have that goal, like I have to do this every day, or if maybe our avenue is something different, we're like, I have to do 2 classes a month, or I have to do, I have to send out this many emails to check on my members, or whatever it is. There has to be, I feel like, some like self-governing, self-accountability, to move us from just kind of coasting to just really being intentional. And being intentional might kind of seem like a big task, and setting goals up front, but it can really be small shifts. Like, I'm going to do 1 reel a day. I'm going to do 1 this a day. I'm going to do 1 this a week, whatever that might be. It can really make a huge difference. I think that sometimes we start to just see these downward trends because we minimize the impact of those little things that we really hold ourselves accountable to. So just to kind of wrap it up, just really
Sarah,
shifting. Yeah.
Can I interrupt and say one
Absolutely.
more thing, just as encouragement? Brock says to give it 90 days of consistency. And, after like the first 2 weeks, it's like, come on, where's all my people? And it like just wasn't working. But if I backtrack from January, back 90 days, that's like middle of October. And when I started being consistent not as consistent, but as consistent as I had been in September and October. And it happened. So if I can give you any encouragement, pick a niche, be consistent, and make a plan. I failed to make a plan, but do those 3 things. Your social media account will, I don't want to use blow up. That's like a negative word. It will overflow with people interested in Young Living. There you go.
There you go. Yes. That I like that 90 days. It's 90 days and it's consistency. Like it. And I guess if I look back, and any times that I've grown anything, there was consistency and it took time. So I think that if we miss out on those things and we are like, oh, it wasn't working, that could be why. If it wasn't long enough, if it wasn't consistent enough. So I have notes that I've taken from everything that Shelly said to you guys. I'm recording it. I'm going to include notes with it and everything that Shelly said, because it's just really good. It's a really good outline. So, even if it's like 90 days of consistent, something, if you're not doing stuff on social media, maybe you're doing it in person, maybe you're, 90 days of consistent classes or whatever it might be. And then the follow-up to go with those or whatever it is. So anyway, let us know if you have any questions, or if you're like, okay, this is my plan. If you need help executing it or whatever it is, we're here. And then absolutely just keep, if your thing is going to be, you're going to go 90 days consistently with Instagram, you know who to check out and follow for some inspiration and just to keep going. So let us know if you guys have any questions. I will get the recording up for this along with some of the notes, and you guys can just shoot us any questions that you have. Thank you so much for coming on tonight, Shelly. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, it was great. Thanks y'all for listening.
Thanks guys for joining us.